Hello everyone and welcome back to the Vintomania channel. You will notice that this is a different kind of video than you're used to seeing things talking about, this kind of belt and things like that. But I'm here today to talk to you about things such as these, which are called comic books. Yes, I'm a big He-Man fan and Hulk fan, which you will get to learn over time. Basically, I have no idea why this has started, but I'm kind of glad that it has. Real Ben Reed has the same kind of, no pun intended, issue that I have, where he's been buying quite a lot of comics, and if you watch one of his videos to do with his trip to London, you'll understand some of the things that he was talking about to do with that. Now, I am not a comic expert. I don't claim to be a comic expert. That's for the likes of people who I'll talk about later on in the video. I'm just here basically to talk about some comics that I've read and my opinion on them. Now, these could be ones that are current, from this year, or it could be ones from like 1996, or it could be ones from even further back than that. I may do like a certain topic where I talk about one of the older issue comics that I actually have, and I'll probably do a video to do with what comics I actually have as well, so then you guys can actually say, I would like to see you review this, I would like to hear you talk about this here, because I've been thinking about getting that and things like that. I would also like to hear, in the comments and things, what comics you've been reading, what you would highly recommend for me to pick up. Now, I would say that I'm kind of a Marvel guy. I do have some IDW things from the likes of Turtles and Transformers and that kind of thing. But I don't really read an awful lot of DC stuff. I'm not a huge DC fan. I've always been a Marvel guy. I used to like the Superman films whenever I was a kid, but then, obviously with the big slew of films that we've had lately, Marvel has always just been the thing for me. Hulk has always been my favourite comic book hero, whereas the Green Goblin has always been my favourite comic book villain. So I don't know, I seem to like green or things that are called Hulk, as you will know from being a wrestling fan. I'm a huge Hulk Hogan fan, so it's weird the way it all parallels into each other. But yeah, this one is going to be to do with two issues that I just read. I had to leave this open because, like I said, I'm not a comic book expert, so I don't know who writes them and who draws them and things like that. So this was done by David Morrell as the writer and Klaus Janson as the artist, and Steve, oh my lord, Bucciolato, sorry if I'm butchering your name there, and this is to do with the first two issues of The Amazing Spider-Man. So you can see at the bottom it's actually in points, so this is like 700.1 and 700.2. Now this is actually a sub one called Frost, which whenever I picked it up and I was starting to read it, it's kind of not what I expected, and it's a good unexpected. By the way, before I get any further into this, if you haven't read these, there will be spoilers because I will be talking about them. All of these videos, if I'm talking about a comic book, will include spoilers. So your first spoiler is, in case you didn't know, Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So that's your first spoiler, which probably everyone on the planet knows that, apart from Aunt May, perhaps. Yeah, so it's to do with, it's in like November time, and obviously winter is coming into it. Spider-Man's helping people, helping civilians, whether there's a couple going to get ran over by a car because the guy behind the wheel is drunk and he doesn't know where they came from, but he's starting to feel really weak, there's a bit where he's talking at May and he's talking about spiders, and he says like the webbing normally goes a bit thinner, like in November time and things like that, and she thinks that he's actually just feeling lightheaded whenever he's talking about things like that. So he's trying to help people, but he can't get any heat into him. And then he's talking to Jameson, of course being Jameson, saying that he wants to get new photos of this crook Spider-Man, and saying that he's probably the one to blame for, I think it's like a kind of one of those transit cars falling down that looked like being tampered with. So maybe it was Spider-Man who did that. So Spider-Man is in his, I think he's in his apartment, and the lights go out, and Aunt May's by herself. He's already been to see her, and she's saying that she'll have to get some food in because Uncle Ben said at November time, this is whenever, like loads of snow happens and things, and it's kind of nature's way of telling us all to just take a break. People stay inside and things like that. That doesn't happen in this day and age at all. People will still go outside, people will still go to work, no matter what. Like we don't get really snow days here where we don't have to go to work, and because I live close to my work, I can just walk it, so the lights go out, and he's worried about Aunt May, and he's worried about, is she okay? And Aunt May's like, she can't find the candles, and the boilers went off because of the heat and because of the electric going off and that kind of thing. So Peter knows that he can't get a taxi, so he has to go as Spider-Man. And along the way there, he's kind of being a bit, he's kind of trying to be a bit selfish and thinking, I have to go to Aunt May, and he sees that there's a building on fire, and he says he doesn't have time to stop, but then he thinks that Aunt May would say that she would want me to do this. So it turns out that it's a hospital and there's kids at it, and he helps them, and then there's a ambulance that's stuck with a pregnant lady in the background, or in the back, and there's like a snowplow that he ends up getting a lift to a little bit further, and then it kind of goes a little bit strange, like almost like he is really lightheaded, that Uncle Ben's beside him, and Peter's saying that he didn't want to stop, and Uncle Ben then sends the immortal line, Pete, with great power comes great responsibility, and you kind of see Uncle Ben going further and further back, and Peter's saying to him, stay with me. And he says, no, but look where you are, and he goes in and finds Aunt May on the floor, and then kind of tries to look after her and make sure that she's okay, brings her soup, and then tries to shovel the driveway, and then he tells her, or she tells him, to take a break and just rest up, and Uncle Ben will be proud of the man that you have become. So as I say, kind of not what I was expecting reading into it, from 700.3, again, isn't something I expected to happen in the Spider-Man, whenever I picked it up and started reading it, but it is a nice new take on it. So yeah, I would highly recommend that if you are a Spider-Man fan, and if you're like myself, you're only just starting off in comics and you're wondering what you should pick up, or if you just want a couple of issues to start off with, these would be the ones that I would say. Now, I only picked these up whenever we were at the MCM Comic Con, because there was basically a couple of long boxes, and they had a couple of blind bags, and they had one of these was on the front, and then another one of them was on the front of that. So I picked those two up, and then 700.3 I think was in one of them. So yeah, that was a case of that there. Just finished reading it about half an hour ago, something like that, so I thought I would, come on. Well, it's still fresh in my mind because, as you know, if you're a comic book guy, you've got so many comics to go through. I know my good friend Mike, if you're watching, hello Mike, has like loads of comics like each and every month that he reads, and I don't know how he remembers all of it. But yeah, if you are a comic book fan, or if you want to get more comic book action, on the link below is a link to a podcast of a very good friend of mine, Ryan Porter, who does a Positively Nerdy podcast, where he talks about comics, that are, with him getting them every month. He'll talk about, the ones for, I think his last one's late May, and I think June 1 will be coming up soon. But yeah, I'll put the link below. Make sure you go there, support him. He's on Twitter as well, and I'll put his Twitter link below too. And he does like other nerdy things, talk about Star Wars. Him and his wife go to the movies and discuss the movies and that kind of thing. So yeah, as I say, I'm not a comic book expert. I just wanted to start something. I kind of missed doing a YouTube video, and because I'm not podcasting as much as I used to, this is kind of my way of, just getting something down, getting something done, and putting it on the interwebs for people to see. So yeah, I'll probably leave the other Spider-Man ones to do for a while later, and then, do a different story. Something like that, whether it's just like issue 1 of a 6-part and kind of do it that way. But yeah, leave your comments below. Like, dislike the video. Prefer the like than the dislike. But you can't please everyone. And this is just a new venture that I've started off with. So hopefully you enjoyed it. As I say, leave some comments below as to what comic books you're reading, what ones you think I should be reading, what ones you say, you think, I feel like that, try this, and yeah. If you would like to see the collection, which will probably run a bit over 15 minutes because I do have quite a bit. You can just see some sitting there, and then the ones are kind of down below. But yeah, if you'd like to see that, leave a comment below. And thanks very much for watching and listening. And until the next issue then.